Season 1 kicked off a bit ago at this point, and while I've been heavily on the Nebula grind for zombies, I've been jumping back and forth a lot between multiplayer as well since the launch of Season 1. Haven't been playing a whole ton of Warzone, which I guess is where that extra time comes from to split between MP and zombies, but admittedly, while I'm a bit later to this video than I'd like to, hey, still applies. I wanted to take some time to take a look at the best classes you can be using in Black Ops 6 multiplayer, a top 10 classes and weapons video, or at least would have been my top 10, because as we touch on with every single top 10 video, we've got situational usage out of each of these weapons. I'm a rifle main, and if you're an SMG main, we may have some slight differences in usage cases and preferred weapons. If I'm a rifle main and you're a melee primary, well, very clearly we're going to have a different top 10, but I want to share with you what's been working well for me and what's been a lot of fun to play around with since the launch of Season 1, but drop your thoughts on any builds that you'd recommend to the community, and if you enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like on the video, as well as subscribe for more Black Ops 6 coverage here in the future. We're now chasing down 700,000 subscribers, so we got a lot on deck that I'm still excited to share with you guys. Would love to have you in the community. But for now, let's get into it. So honestly, the first weapon you're probably seeing all over the place is the Krig C. And it's because, well, one, it's a new weapon, and two, it's definitely worth using. It's got minimal recoil and honestly the best jack of all trades weapon, I'd say. Previously, that went to my beloved XM4, but this thing beats it in multiple key areas, which I enjoy. Damage at range, and then tied in a lot of other areas that it's really just a coin flip on which one you might like better. It doesn't take the cake in every single category, but kitted out, it makes for a very formidable weapon and is one that if you haven't ranked it up yet, I'd highly recommend doing so you can take advantage of what this has on offer before they decide to balance it out a bit if they decide to do that. Full transparency, I've been favoring a lot more gunfighter builds lately in my play sessions. Not sure why that is, but we'll drop gunfighter versus non-gunfighter builds here, so you have a bit of each depending on what your playstyle is. For the non-gunfighter traditional 5 attachment build, I'd recommend the Kepler Microflex Optic, the Reinforced Barrel, the Ranger Foregrip, the Extended Mag 1, and the Commando Grip. This, I go for a bit more snappier of a build and a bit more mobility based rather than anything else, where you do sacrifice a bit of the recoil mitigation, but that's where Gunfighter comes in handy. Gunfighter, that build, I'd recommend the Kepler Micro Reflex, the ported compensator for vertical and first shot kick mitigation, Reinforced Barrel, Ranger Foregrip, Extended Mag 1, Commando Grip, the Balance Stock, and the Recoil Springs. So you can see we offer much more in that recoil mitigation in regards to the ported compensator and the recoil springs than the non-gunfighter build, so it's just a perfect blend of weapon for me, and with the Enforcer combat specialty, I still get all the movement attributes that I really care about with those perks. So for that, I'd take the gunfighter build for sure. The XM4 is the next weapon up on deck, where I still think it's a jack of all trades weapon, but maybe not just the jack of all trades weapon now at this point. Faster fire rate, faster reload speed, better recoil mitigation at base than the Krig C, but it's another high flying weapon that has the ability to absolutely shred through enemies, either up close or at a medium distance. Honestly, even at long range, if I'm finding myself like really confident in my shot in that game, I'll be picking off snipers on head glitches from almost across the map. The non-gunfighter build, I'd recommend the Kepler Microflex, the Reinforced Barrel, the Extended Mag, Commando Grip, and Light Stock. Again, kind of similar to the Krig, where I want to build it a bit snappier over anything else, but the Gunfighter build, as you'll see, also allows for more control. The Gunfighter build, I'd recommend the Kepler Microflex, the Compensator, opting not for the ported compensator. I don't find the first shot mitigation to be as needed on the XM4, but then the Reinforced Barrel, Ranger Foregrip, Extended Mag 1, or actually I found myself accidentally switched to 2 recently because of the global weapon builds and going for zombies camos that I didn't mind it all that much, but it is again a slight sacrifice in some of those mobility and reload attributes. Then the Commando Grip, Light Stock, and Recoil Springs for added recoil mitigation. Next, the AK-74. This honestly is just a fun one to pack a little bit more punch than the other weapons we've talked about here so far, but the non-gunfighter, the Kepler Micro Reflex, Reinforced Barrel, the Vertical Foregrip, this one I use just because of the added recoil of the AK by comparison to the XM4 or the Krig. I find the vertical to be more beneficial than the added 0.3 millisecond bonus that you get for the sprinting move speed in relation to the Ranger Foregrip we've been using. Offers more control. Extended Mag 1 and the Commando Grip. The Gunfighter build for all 8 attachments, the Microflex, Compensator, Reinforced Barrel, Vertical Foregrip, Extended Mag 1, Commando Grip, Balance Stock, and the Recoil Springs. can you see I kind of have a certain way with building these things out in regards to the gunfighter? It's relatively balanced across the board, just kind of playing more into some of the base attributes of like damage that you can't quite boost up by itself, but you can control those other factors. I find it's balanced and easy to manage with these similar builds. But jumping over to some other weapons, let's talk about some SMGs. The Jackal PDW is a versatile SMG, easy to control, high mobility, solid damage, even at a distance. It's been dominant, still is dominant, and I don't think it's going to go out of the spotlight for a little while. The non-gunfighter build, I end up running the reinforced barrel, Ranger foregrip, extended mag, ergonomic grip, and the balance stock. If you want, you can sacrifice the extended mag for like a compensator. That's one of those things that I've seen a lot of pros doing that, where they take the base 30 rounds and then offer that extra recoil control, but that comes down to a little bit of build preference. Now, for the gunfighter version, you can do all of that. You don't have to sacrifice one or the other, where the gunfighter build, I'll run the compensator, reinforced barrel, Ranger foregrip, extended mag, ergonomic grip, balance stock. I'll throw on a steady aim laser just because like I don't need an optic here, and to get a little bit more hipfire spread in those situations where I may end up having a hipfire encounter, it can be beneficial. And then the recoil springs. Frankly, a lot of times while I have been running a lot of gunfighter builds, I have been sticking with just the base 5 attachments on the Jackal. So that's one of those ones that 8 attachments, it's a lot to work with. And if I do throw on a laser where I don't sacrifice an attachment and go 7 of 8, I do end up giving my position away with a laser visible at the hip. So that's one of those things to consider. Next, the Saug is a new and fun gun to use. Yeah, well, it turns out it has great attributes that make it deserving to be in a top 10 listing. Definitely one of the best SMGs, if not the best SMG for multiplayer at the moment. For these, again, we do, of course, have that split build of the gunfighter versus non-gunfighter builds, where similar to the Jackal, I'll end up doing the 5 attachments with the reinforced barrel, Ranger foregrip, extended mag, commando grip, and then the light stock. I go for commando on this one, not necessarily the ergonomic, just because I found myself not sliding as much with the Saug, so you lose out on that benefit of the dive to fire and slide to fire speeds the ergonomic grips end up giving you. Before the gunfighter builds, I'll end up tossing on the compensator, steady aim laser, and recoil springs to build that out even further. Another SMG that I've really been enjoying is the KSV. This one is the, I want to use a great SMG, but I don't feel like using the Jackal or Saug type of gun. Like, it's a nice curveball to what you may be used to using in a lot of regular situations, and it still can get the job done very well. For this, we of course have that gunfighter versus non-gunfighter build, where the gunfighter is the compensator, Ranger foregrip, extended mag, commando grip, and the balance stock, while the gunfighter build ends up including the compensator, reinforced barrel, Ranger foregrip, extended mag 1, commando grip, balance stock, steady aim laser, and the recoil springs. Again, kitting everything out here at this, where I don't need an optic of any kind, and that kind of ties into the last SMG we'll talk about of the C9, where it's a fun SMG to use, and I love the iron sights of the C9, which is kind of just an overall sort of statement on the iron sights this year in general for SMGs. There's not really one that I just absolutely hate this year. But anyways, the C9 moving along is also a mobile, fast-moving weapon that's just, again, a lot of fun to use. For this build, splitting between the 5 attachments and the 8. The 5 attachments, I'll use the compensator, reinforced barrel, Ranger foregrip, flip mag, and the commando grip. The flip mag is just one of those things that I don't mind the 30-round mag, and I also get a faster reload, which if I'm weaving in and out of enemies, which I often like to do with the C9, it's one of those ones that is, I just think, very beneficial. Now, for the 8 attachments, we'll end up tossing on the balance stock, steady aim laser, and recoil springs. Again, as you probably see with the last couple of builds, but a lot of fun to use. Next, we're going to go out of the SMG category and into a little bit more of one that packs a bit more punch, the XMG. And LMG we're going to talk about here at this, where for this, for the 5 attachments, we'll end up using the reflex optic, reinforced barrel, the vertical grip. Again, I think that horizontal recoil control is a lot more important than the sort of sprinting move speed you end up getting on something like the XMG, then the commando grip and the light stock. That's your sort of base build, I would say, with the 5 attachments, but I really do think that you can sacrifice one of those attachments, maybe like the light stock or something, if you want to end up taking, say, the Fast Mag 1 or Fast Mag 2. I've been going back and forth on the 8 attachment builds of the Fast Mag 1 and 2, where for that 8 attachment build would go for the reflex, compensator, reinforced barrel, vertical foregrip, Fast Mag 2, commando grip, light stock, and the recoil springs, where the Fast Mag ends up taking your 100 round base drum mag down to 50 rounds. So that makes your reload speed way faster, increasing it by 18% across the board and offering a bit more in terms of those mobility properties. So definitely a fun one to play around with, though truth be told, I haven't really deviated outside of those first couple that we've already talked about. Those are my definite favorites. These ones still very good, but just not as much in the class selection going into each individual match. And the final two weapons we'll talk about come down to weapons that I think that we can close out the list because they're both incredible in MP and in Warzone, so a bit of dual purpose if you are somebody that likes both of those. That is the Model L and the GPR 91. Now, the Model L is a little slower firing, but does pack a punch. So for this one, I'd end up recommending the Microflex Optic, the Reinforced Barrel Vertical Foregrip Extended Mag 1, and the Commando Grip for your 5 attachment build. And then for your 8 attachment build, this is where I like to have fun with it, where we end up throwing on the compensator, the light stock, and recoil springs in addition to all of what we just mentioned. This one makes for a very solid build, I think, and can absolutely get plenty of kills for you at MP. And in Warzone, if you toss on like a 2x optic or something like that, my personal favorite for Warzone ends up being the Jason Armory 2x. That is just such a fun build to play around with. And finally, the GPR 91. You probably guessed it. I run the Microflex Reinforced Vertical Foregrip Extended Mag and the Commando Grip, while the 8 attachment build, I end up running the Microflex Compensator, Reinforced Barrel Vertical Foregrip Extended Mag, Commando Grip, Balanced Stock, and the Recoil Springs. So that is the builds that I've been rocking, having a lot of fun with an MP, and have been doing pretty well for me. So if you guys want to check them out for yourself, highly recommend trying them out. Again, either gunfighter builds or non-gunfighter 5 attachment traditional builds. I think both can work well for you on each of these weapons. So that said, that's going to wrap it up. Just want to fill you guys in on what I've been using and playing around with a lot. So hopefully these can benefit you a bit. If there's anything you'd like to add to this list in regards to favorite weapons of yours and builds that you'd recommend for the community, feel free to drop it down below. Again, we're all here for the same reason, just trying to have some better weapon builds and do better in game. So if you want to share it, feel free to. But if you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. Of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 6. Still a lot upcoming you guys won't want to miss, so I'd love to have you in the community. For now, though, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care, and peace.